Hello, fellow gardeners. I thought today we'd talk about how to pick plants when you're at the nursery. A lot of us love to go to garden centers, nurseries, and bring home new plants. And as you can see, I have done that recently. But I know we've got a lot of new gardeners out there, and maybe even some experienced gardeners aren't sure what to do when they go into a nursery. So I'm going to give you some tips. Let's start with this Brigantia here. So this is actually one that I've had in a pot, and this yellowing in the leaves is not something you normally would want to see. This is not a variegated Brigantia. He's supposed to have dark green leaves like this one. So this is really a factor of being in a pot for the summer. This was a 4-pack that I bought, and I've potted up for one of our plant sales, and it could use some fertilizer. So that's pretty easily corrected. So you could take that plant home, and when you get it in the ground, it starts to grow. It should recover. Now, when you're buying plants, you want to bring home healthy plants. So this is a gorgeous male fern, I believe. Yes, male fern. Let me get this on it for you. This is a beautiful male fern. This caught my eye on the fern table at a local garden center. And what you want to do when you're buying plants is look at the pot and the crown. You want to look for dead areas. You want to look and make sure that you've got, when possible, multiple crowns or plants coming up. So you want to make sure that you've got all nice new growth in there. But you could actually see a bud down in here. So that's a new new fern leaf waiting to come, and there's more down in there. So a little bit of browning, I would say that's okay. That's probably from not getting enough water at one point. Ferns, of course, like continuous water. And when plants are in pots, they need pretty much regular watering. So I just finished watering these. So that's the first step. Look at the crown, look at the overall health of the plant, and look at the leaves. Look for leaf spots. Look for insects. Check the underside of the leaf. Now this is a fern, so those aren't insects. Those are actually going to be fern spores. And here's some here that are ripe. So you need to know what the plant looks like normally. The next thing to do is to check the bottom of the pot. Now there are a few roots coming out, so I'm not too worried about that. It is August, but you may have to take some of those bottom roots off when you plant it, because it may be starting to get a little pop bound. All right, so I came home with this beautiful fern, and it's going to go in my shade garden. All right, we're gonna put him aside. Now this is Persicaria golden arrow, which it is a perennial. It gets a hot pink flower on it, and I had it in my garden previously that I had mail ordered, and it didn't survive. So I want to try it again. So there were a group of them. So as you can see, pulling out some tree leaves, it does have multiple pieces coming out of the crown. It doesn't look too bad. It's supposed to be this kind of chartreusey green. Actually, in the spring, it'll come up much more golden. But then here we have leaf spot. And if you can see the leaf spots here, all right, but, well, there's a few that have leaf spot on it. The whole plant doesn't have leaf spot. And I looked all of the plants over pretty well, and they all had a little bit of leaf spot. So my options were don't buy the plant or bring it home and know I'm going to treat it. So the leaf spot that I believe this is Cercospora, because it's got this purpley halo around it. If you're not sure what the disease is, you can always take it into your master gardener office. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all the leaves that have this problem, and they are going in the garbage. Okay. And I think I'm going to take this one too. Put them over here for now. Now that one, that maybe actually looks like maybe it got a little sunburn. Let's look the plant over again. Check the roots. There are some roots coming out, but not too bad. Well, here's one more leaf in the bottom that looks questionable. And then what I will do with this before I put it in the garden is I'm going to treat it with a fungicide. And I will probably leave it out of the garden for another week or so. Treat it with the fungicide. Maybe we'll call it its quarantine, and see how it looks in about 10 days. And I'm going to take that one off too. So now that I've cleaned up the plant, it doesn't look bad, aside from, oh, that one's questionable. All right, so if you just have to take a couple leaves off and you're willing to treat it and you recognize that you might have a problem, if it was engulfed with leaf spot, I would not have brought it home, however much I wanted the plant. You do not want to introduce a new disease or a diseased plant into your garden. They just take so much effort, and you would need to do a good garden cleanup in the fall. And many fungicides are protective rather than curative. So you're just bringing in new problems to your garden. So stay away from plants that have weird spots, are discolored, mildewy leaves. Lots of times when plants are on clearance, there's a reason. So be extra careful during the fall when all those plants go on sale and gardeners just love a bargain. Well, if it's diseased, it's no longer a bargain. So here we have, this is one of the mountain mints, and they are very, I won't say aggressive growers, but yes, that's what they are. You can see that they've cut it back in the nursery. It probably bloomed, so then they cut the stalks back, and it's got all this nice new growth. So the one thing about this guy is it is definitely root bound. That's a lot of roots coming out of the bottom. This is going to be, I'm going to have to pull all these roots off when I go to plant it, and it may not come out of the hole or out of the pot easily. But knowing it's root bound, I can deal with that. And knowing the type of plant it is, I'm not surprised. Also, the fact that it's August. But if you try to stick your finger in there, that's all root, okay? So I'm gonna have to do a little TLC on this one when it goes into the garden. And now, while I'm holding it, this is going to dry out quickly, and you're going to want to give it a good soaking pretty much every day. When you water, you're going to want to see the water run out of the bottom of the plant to make sure that it has been soaked. So you want to make sure that these are thoroughly watered and that the potting medium doesn't dry out. And then my last plant is a Maidenhair Fern, which looked really good when I bought it. And you can see there's some new growth. And it's got lots of stems. It's got more new growth in there. But then you come up here and some of it's a little crispy. Well, that's my bad. I think I forgot to water it one day, and Maidenhair ferns don't want to dry out. So some of the leaves got crispy. I've been watering it, and hopefully I'll actually get it in the ground and get it planted, and it'll be happier. Since it is August and it does not like to dry out, and it's been dry and hot again, I may actually keep this on the north side of my house and water it daily and not forget, and wait until we get some cooler weather and some more rain. So this looks pretty good on the bottom, not really root bound. But yeah, your plants need TLC when you bring them home. So I hope this has been helpful. Mainly what you want to do when you're buying new plants, look for healthy plants. Look for plants that don't have insects. You know, you can actually shake a plant like this and see if any insects come out of it, because whiteflies are common in nursery situations. So if there's a white cloud arising from it, don't buy them. Look for plants that are pot bound and that have spots, and take home nice healthy plants. And then once you get them home, give them a good watering, and make sure you water them daily until you can get them in the garden. And then once in the garden, they're going to need regular watering while they're establishing themselves, because they go through something called transplant shock. So you want to make sure you give them a good soaking once you've planted them, and then check on them daily, especially if you're planting during the summer when it's hot and dry. I really like to plant in spring and fall when we have more typical rain pattern, but you can buy plants in the summer and give them some shade, give them lots of water, and you should be fine. All right, and again, if you ever have gardening questions, please contact your local cooperative extension office or your master gardener office, and they'd be happy to help you out.